Welcome, Wasteland survivors, to Scavenger Squad. I'm Caedo Genesis, and in this Fallout 4 guide series, we'll focus on the valuable assets and loot when dealing with features or areas, with the help of a featured guest. There are two outstanding video creators joining me this time. Welcome, Michael and Scott of FudgeMuppet. Feel free to introduce yourselves and tell the Wastrels a little bit about what you do.
What's going on, guys? As Caedo said, it's Michael.
And Scott here from FudgeMuppet. Some of you may know us already, and hopefully you've subscribed, but for those of you who don't know us, we make all kinds of Fallout and Elder Scrolls content on our channel. We're mostly known for our sensational Fallout 4 builds and guides, Skyrim builds, and by our biggest fans, the ones who can tell our voices apart, for our podcast, The FudgeMuppet Show.
Rumor has it we can also whip up a groovy top 10.
Thanks for joining in, Michael and Scott. After describing much of the crafting in Fallout 4, our focus has shifted to points of interest throughout the Commonwealth, notably the outlying townships that contain rich environmental storytelling, rare loot, and collectibles, as well as other spoils.
This time we'll be scouring the town of Quincy to the southeast of the main city. We've searched it and come back with plenty of information on the best loot and even some things you may not have even noticed if you've been here before.
Upon arrival, Quincy has been occupied quite recently by the Gunners. While the parking structure in town is inhabited by a couple rad scorpions, we suggest staying alert for loot in this area, but our main locations of interest will be the inner ruins of Quincy, the police station, and Peabody House. And remember, beware of traps, mines, and turrets that are scattered throughout.
So first, in the southwest outskirts, we have a little red rocket station that has several antifreeze bottles, a few snacks, some oil materials, and workbenches and a power armor station in case you need some equipment upkeep before taking on the gunners.
So right down on the south end, we have Peabody House, which actually has some quest characters, Matt and Carol Peabody, which are essential to the side quest Kid in a Fridge. We also have some ammo and first aid that you need to steal if you want it. We also have some Nuka Cola Quantum in the fridge, some caps stashed in the oven, and there is also a safe with ammo, pre-war money, and first aid.
Just below the center of Quincy, you will find the infamous Quincy Police Station. Here you will do battle with the gunner boss named Tessa, a woman in a large suit of power armor with the legendary power armor piece Tessa's Fist. This is an arm piece of Raider power armor that has quadruple durability compared to other pieces. You can also get a fusion core from Tessa, which is useful if you're playing a power armor character. Tessa's also been spending her time on the police terminal nearby, where there's multiple entries you can find about the parking structure being infested with rad scorpions. This terminal also contains Baker's Holotape, another gunner. There's also a book return terminal if you forgot to return your books to your local Quincy library, and of course there's plenty of ammo here as well.
Before you move on from the police station, there's the police lockup, which is a door in the back near the terminal. It leads into the downstairs area with the cells. Down below there's a police lockup terminal which allows you to unlock one of the cells and also activate the Protectron guard, and contains locations of 3 other police stations linked to the Eddie Winter case. Down here is where you also find Eddie Winter's holotape and a few first aid items. As for a little more storytelling goodness, the locked cell contains a prisoner on a toilet with a wooden spoon nearby who is trying to dig himself out. Oddly enough, bobby pins are underneath the toilet tank.
Slightly north, just outside the police station, you'll actually find a bit of a storytelling area within the game. There's a tent there with a dead trader, loot on its corpse, next to a dead Brahmin. Not the most fortunate thing that can happen to you, but definitely a thing that will happen if you visit Quincy.
Southwest of Quincy Police Station, you can find the Quincy Carpark. There are multiple laser tripwires connected to a grenade bouquet, likely not to keep people out, but more so to keep the scorpions in. After you have navigated your way through these tripwires, you will find some stairs in which you can proceed down and find an underground area where there is a room with a van which contains a steamer trunk with an expert lock. But beware, because this is defended by a rad scorpion. And if you explore the car park facility more, you can actually find a ramp with a pre-war skeleton at the top, sitting in a shopping cart with some food, ready to roll down it.
Still keeping in the southern side of Quincy, between the police station and the church, you will find the apartments building. This building once had many post-apocalyptic functions until, of course, the gunners arrived. There was a gun store on the ground floor, and within this store you will find random pieces of clothing, a cap stash behind the counter, duct tape on the shelves, and a weapons workbench with a makeshift battery underneath. Still keeping on the ground floor of the apartments building, you will also find the diner. There's not much here, but if you're feeling like some noodles, there's some noodle cups and a cooking stove.
So while you are still in the apartment building, there is a barred apartment door on the second floor accessible through a hole on the outside wall. If you go up to the rooftops on adjacent buildings, you can actually jump down to this hole in the wall. And inside, you can find a fridge with food and an ammo box in it, as well as a med kit in the restroom. And also in the restroom, there is a dead settler in the bathtub holding a combat knife. Of course, once you are in here, you can unlock the barred door from the inside and proceed up the stairwell.
On the third floor, we actually have Mama Murphy's old room, and if you go onto the balcony of the third floor, you will see that there is Mama Murphy's stash with lots of chems inside. What a druggo. Then we have the pharmacy, which is located on the southern side between the police station and the church. Inside we have Junlong's terminal, which talks about Mama Murphy's visions coming true about the Minutemen's arrival, who were led by Hollis and ultimately betrayed. In here we can find a few chems behind the desk and a bit of pre-war money in the cash register. Besides that, there's mostly junk in here. You can find a chemistry station, and the stairwell in the back room has a safe behind a mop and a bucket, so be sure to loot that. Outside of the pharmacy, there's a big pyre of dead bodies that have been set alight, which is a case of very interesting storytelling. It looks like it's all the settlers and dead Minutemen and inhabitants of Quincy thrown on top of a pyre and burnt by the gunners.
If you're feeling like a bit of a buzz, there's actually a liquor store northeast of this pharmacy. That said, once you arrive, it is a very disappointing sight. There is no booze here except one bottle of whiskey on the shelf. There's a safe in here with an expert lock if you're looking for more loot, and if you feel like you should make some chems because you couldn't find any alcohol, there's also a chemistry station.
On the western end of Quincy, right across from the Quincy Church, is the Quincy Cemetery with a small gunner outpost, with several food items and an ammo box inside. As for the cemetery itself, those dead haven't been put to waste. It has been converted into a farm full of gourds, if you're looking for some extra produce to bring back to your settlements. Now for the church, which is one of the tallest, most outstanding buildings of Quincy. In here is another backstory terminal, the one that was owned by Sturges, with entries related to the power armor that is now being worn by two of the gunner bosses. The third gunner boss, who is not wearing power armor, however, is Baker on the roof. Pray you don't end up in his sights, for he is wielding a fat man and a missile launcher. As for loot in here, it is rather sparse. You'll find a few first aid items as well as a safe on the second floor with an expert lock. Also for crafting, there is a power armor, weapons workbench, and if you want to be the Iron Chef of the Wastes, there is also a cooking station in here.
In the northeastern section of Quincy, we have the old Minutemen Headquarters, which contains Hollis's terminal on the second floor. This terminal shows the struggles of Colonel Hollis's command until the betrayal by Clint and the loss of Quincy to the gunners. So here, along with many of the other terminals and information and lore surrounding Quincy, you can see how it actually sets up the premise for the main story when you meet Preston Garvey and the others in Concord,
which has its own scavenger squad guide.
So on the north end of Quincy, hanging below the freeway, you will find Quincy Station. Here you will find a monorail, but what lies deep within? Well, not much. There is a blood pack, but if you want to have an investigation in here, one of the best ways is to run along the roof and jump through the window of the driver's seat. The reason for this is because if you take the normal path up to the driver's seat, it is covered in laser tripwires, and at the end, next to the driver's seat, there's a missile launcher which will shoot you if you activate one of the traps. If you access the monorail through the roof like we recommended, you can get the missile launcher and avoid the trap entirely. There's also a Pulowski shelter here with a pre-war skeleton having some tea with some Radex, or Radex with their tea.
The most prominent location in Quincy is the Gunners' Freeway Stronghold. This is where the Gunners can keep Quincy well defended with the height advantage. So on the lower level of this overpass, there is an eating area with plenty of things on the shelves, including a Nuka Cola Quantum and lots of nuclear foods, first aid, and the barbecues as well. This seemed to be a barracks of sorts because there are beds, ammo, and toolboxes all around, including a first aid table and a first aid box adjacent to it in a van.
On the upper level of the Stronghold, we have the gunner boss Clint, who is wearing leveled power armor and also wields the Good Intentions legendary weapon. Next to him, you can find a hut with a radio, ammo box, and a mini nuke. After you've taken Clint out, you can look at the gunner terminal, which reveals the locations of the Atom Cat's garage, Wilson's Atomatoys factory, and Quincy quarries. It also reveals more information about Clint's betrayal with the Minutemen and Garvey's escape. So between the two truck shelter where you find the gunner's terminal, there is also a guns and bullets magazine on the desk, and you can also find an ammo box and a steamer trunk full of great loot to take home with you.
That wastrels is some of the best spoils you'll be able to find in Quincy. Be prepared for well-equipped enemies and 3 gunner bosses before venturing into this well-fortified ruin. You've been warned. We hope that you found this guide entertaining, useful, or a little of both. If you enjoyed this video and want more, you know what to do.
That's right, guys. If you enjoyed this video and want more, be sure to subscribe to Caedo Genesis and also head over to Michael and Scott at FudgeMuppet for Fallout 4 builds and all kinds of Fallout 4 videos. Be sure to share this video if you deem it worthy, and we'll see you soon with some more videos on FudgeMuppet and Caedo Genesis.